are talking Ip Man 4, the finale. This one is directed by Wilson Yip and stars, of course, Donnie Yen and Scott Adkins. So obviously the fourth in the Ip Man series. This one sees Ip Man travelling to America to try and secure a school scholarship for his young son, as he's dying of cancer. He's kind of getting a little bit older now, and there he encounters kind of racism from the Americans. He also has kind of dealing with elitism from the kind of the Chinese council there, who don't want to kind of let the Americans into the kind of the way of doing the their kind of style of kung fu, etc. And it's all about breaking down barriers, and obviously a few kind of fights along the way. You also have a significant role for the Bruce Lee character, who of course studied under Ip Man. So what do we think? Okay, so I have to be honest with you, I've not seen the previous three Ip Man movies. I'm only watching this one as a bubble. I am aware of them, but I have not seen any of the previous three. And it was actually Scott Adkins that was kind of drew me to watching this one. But what works, first of all? Now, I am somewhat familiar with the kind of the real context, the real kind of life inspiration for these movies, and I do understand that this movie is a fictionalized event of those things. So I appreciate the story here isn't really a true life portrayal of what actually happened. So just bear that in mind. As far as I'm aware, Ip Man never came to the USA, for example. So though there are some themes here that may well have happened, it is largely a work of fiction. Obviously here, the biggest thing is going to be the fight scenes here, which are expertly choreographed and are thrilling to watch. And we have various different matches, not all with Ip Man either. There are other kind of characters that have kind of one-on-one matches. And the interesting thing with this movie is that there's a subplot where we have the Americans who are trying to teach karate in their kind of curricula for teaching the Marines how to kind of hand-to-hand combat. And the idea here is they kind of want to try and introduce this Chinese kind of style of kung fu, and the Americans are very much, they want to stick to the karate. So you have a kind of a racially motivated karate versus kung fu kind of standoff here. And there are some fantastic fight sequences, as I mentioned. I really liked Donnie Yen's Ip Man, who is this understated, subtle kind of man who is very graceful, especially as he's, obviously getting older in this movie. But he's such a sympathetic character, and, even though he can absolutely kick someone's ass, he just seems like this very kind of gentle person at kind of heart. And I really liked his relationship with this kind of young Chinese girl who he kind of like helps after she gets bullied. I thought that was really good. She calls him Uncle Ip Man and stuff like that. I thought that was really good. And I actually quite enjoyed Scott Adkins here. Now, he was actually one of the kind of believe it or not, the better kind of Western actors in this movie, and actually gave quite a solid performance, I thought, as this kind of like racially motivated drill sergeant who is a proponent of only wanting to use kind of karate there. Obviously, the movie does benefit from having quite a lot of different locations here. Obviously, we do have a lot set in kind of China, but we also have scenes set in America as well. So it does give you a variety in regards to locales. I think the portrayal of Bruce Lee here was pretty good. I think it's quite as strong as we've seen in the Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, who I really felt like they really could have captured. But they do a pretty good job, I feel, of recreating Lee, as character here. Okay, so what doesn't work for me, some of the acting here, and I say this from the American actors, some of the American actors here are terrible. I mean, we all kind of take the piss of some of the kind of the old-fashioned 70s, Chinese movies when they're dubbed and they brought over to the Western audiences, and it's like super cheesy. But that's what it seems like these American actors are. I mean, like I say, the one kind of Western actor, Scott Adkins, I think fares better. But a lot of the other ones, there's a character called Billy here who is just terrible line delivery. So some of the American actors here, just awful acting, unfortunately. I don't think the music is particularly well matched to the material as well. I don't know what, like I said, I haven't seen the previous three movies, so I don't know if it's the same style of music, but to me the music didn't really match what was kind of on screen. so I actually found the music a little distracting. Maybe that's a personal thing for me. The actual story itself, as I've mentioned, this is more of a fictionalised version of events, but I found it a little bit cheesy and a little bit convenient here, and a little bit maybe too many story threads. I mean, there's so many different elements to this movie. Like we have the military kind of involvement is completely separate to. We have problems with the immigration control. And then we have kind of like the elitism from the Chinese authority. Then we have kind of like his relationship with his son that is strained. Things like this, and they're all kind of separate. And they all happen to kind of like coincide at kind of the right time and things like this. I don't know. The story to me was a little bit on the kind of the cheesy side. I got to be honest with you, and you know, it made for a little bit of a B-movie style kind of movie, if you want my honest opinion. I mean, it's entertaining enough, but I just feel like the actual narrative here is a little on the cheesy side. I can't compare it to the other three, to be honest, because I've not seen them. But to me, this one just felt a little bit of a kind of a cheesy story. But overall, I mean, obviously, you're mainly going to watch it, I feel, because of the martial arts action, and that does not disappoint. For me personally, there was a little bit too much kind of wire work, but I know that's a big staple of Chinese cinema, so, you know, I'm not going to kind of count that against it. It's just a personal taste for me, but they were expertly done, and Donnie Yen absolutely excels in this kind of in this role, and maybe I actually will watch the kind of the previous three movies to kind of obviously kind of see what has happened previous to this. But as I understand, this movie is very much kind of a rehash of some of the kind of the elements from the previous three movies. But it is an enjoyable film. It's certainly well made, with Ip Man obviously being the kind of the central focus. I guess the main characters, Ip Man, the Bruce Lee, and Scott Adkins, kind of gunnery sergeant, and probably this young Chinese girl as well, and her father, all fantastic. It's just some of the supporting characters, some of the American characters here is a little crappy, and then some of the writing here is on the cheesy side, if you want my opinion. But very enjoyable. 7 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.